Continuing on with part 2, Ringo TV reactions. We are back again with another one. Is the problem racism, or is it the ghetto culture? From our last video, we talked about the ghetto culture, and we talked about how in these communities, there's a lot of dysfunction. We like to pride ourselves on the fact that I'm from the hood. This is my block. It is what it is. We love to do that type of stuff. But when we look at what is known as the Black community, what we find is a culture of crime, violence, gangs, drug abuse, teenage pregnancies, babies out of wedlock, single motherhood, a bunch of Black men going to prison, Black men not willing to work. The women are the ones at the 9-to-5s, not saying that there is no Black men at work, but my point is the majority of men in what is called the Black community is actually just sitting on a corner. Whereas it's just a few Black brothers that are trying to do the right thing. Only very few make it out of what is known as the ghetto. So what we're trying to figure out is the problem in society what is known as ghetto culture, or is it racism? Is the white man holding you back? Is the man holding you down? Because in the hood, I don't see the white man holding anybody down. I see our people making choices that are keeping them in a state of dysfunction year after year. And it is time for us to really recognize this and take action, because we're trying to blame everybody else for all these problems. Well, why there's drugs in the community, or why there's no jobs, and well, you're lazy. That's the problem. The problem is not that there are no jobs. The problem is you're lazy. You don't want to do nothing. You're expecting someone else to give you that handout. And see, this is why my video where I talked about I'm not a part of the Black community, people will be upset because they want me to be associated with dysfunction. That's not who I am. I don't get up in the morning thinking about drinking and smoking. I don't get up in the morning thinking about impregnating Black women and leaving them with babies. That's not what I do. I'm a working man. I'm a family man. So there's a certain lifestyle that I like to live. And when you're in the quote unquote ghetto or Black community, it is very difficult to live a certain lifestyle when you're surrounded by crime, when you're surrounded by Black on Black crime, when our women don't want to submit and respect their male counterpart, where women want to rule over the man, where men want to wear a dress, where the children are out of order. I mean, you name it. This is happening all under the guise of ghetto culture, not racism. See, we can blame racism all we want. You're an adult. You make the choice now. You're not in shackles. You're not in chains. Stop using racism as a crutch to justify why you are not moving towards your goals. Because based on what I'm seeing, in my opinion, the problem is not racism. Racism do exist. There's a lot of folks who don't like Black people. But at the end of the day, me personally, I know for a fact that the majority of people that don't like me look just like me. So I really don't have time to be worrying about what the white man is doing or whether or not the white man like me. I don't really care, because I'm the kind of person who rolls solo. I don't wake up in the morning trying to be friends with white folk. I don't do that. I don't wake up in the morning trying to be friends with anyone. I'm just trying to live my life. I stay out of the way. I'm a private person. I focus on family. I have my little fun. That's that. Do you understand me? So it's not about me trying to fit in with a particular group. It's not about me trying to act like, oh, I think I'm white. Oh, you're a race traitor and all this other stuff. Listen, all the hate that I get come from my people. They hate me because I speak the truth. You understand? Now, of course, there may be white folk that don't like me. I don't really care. I'm not interested in worrying about who like me or don't. I got a family to raise. I got money to make. I don't got no time for the drama. But what I'm trying to focus on here is we live in a society right now where we're blaming racism for everything that's going on in the Black community as if though we are incapable of making decisions to better ourselves. We're trying to blame the other nations for why the Black community is in shambles. I mean, you got all these Black men living in the Black community. Why aren't they building and getting together and working? I mean, if you don't like the community and you don't like the state of it, why aren't the men leading the community? Why is it that the Black men in the quote unquote Black community, why aren't they coming together and saying, you know what? We need better schools. We need better stores. We need better hospitals. We need better this. They're not doing anything. You know why? Because they're lazy. We depend on the other nations for everything that we get. Even the Bible says so. Even the Bible says that you're going to be in want and nakedness in the land of your captives. But that being said, you are not in chains where you are incapable of moving and making progress. You can make decisions to better yourselves. But in the Black community, all we see is dysfunction. And I'm tired of it. I'm very much tired of it. And I can't understand for the life of me, how is it that we as a people seem to embrace this culture that is toxic, trap music, drill music, and not saying that the beats is toxic, but the lyrics is toxic because all they're talking about is killing, shooting, and a bunch of other garbage. And then our youth is hearing this poison. And then our women think that they need a man that's like that. So we have a revolving door of demonic activity where our people are not going nowhere. So what's really to blame? Racism or ghetto culture? Because ghetto culture influences the youth in order for them to go a certain way. You could be the best parent in the hood. You could be the best mom, the best dad. You could instill great values into your children. It doesn't really matter. Who your children hang around is going to have the final say. Because you can teach your son and your daughter right from wrong all you want. If they spend more time with their friends at school, if they hang out after school with their friends more than they talk to you, then guess what? They're going to adapt to the climate. They're going to adapt to the way of life in that community. And this is why ghetto culture is so toxic and detrimental to the health of the youth, because all they see is this lifestyle of mayhem and violence. When you come to the hood, when you come to quote unquote Black community, we pride ourselves with, if there's a crime, I didn't see nothing. If someone gets shot who is innocent and you saw who shot them, in the hood, in the Black community, in the ghetto, they teach you that it is wrong if you tell the police and point the person out who did the crime. Now, does that make any sense? So if an elderly woman gets shot in the head and she's dead, and you saw who did it, the Black community will say, it is called snitching if you tell the police what happened. Now, does that sound like a civilized community where crime is being committed and the right thing to do is not to point out who killed the person? Because if you do, you're not a cool brother. You're not a cool sister. No, that's dysfunction. That is called ghetto culture. And unfortunately, for the majority of our people who live in these communities, whether they're low income communities or whatever the case is, nobody wants to talk about these real issues because, once again, we don't want to step on no toes. We don't want to offend nobody. We don't want nobody to feel no type of way. You're an adult. It is time for you to hear the truth and stop worrying about your emotions. If you live in the hood, live in the ghetto, or whatever the case is, and you're going through the struggle, it is what it is. We're not talking about people that have low income. We're not talking about people in a negative way who can't afford a better way of lifestyle. What I'm trying to focus on is, even if you cannot afford a better neighborhood to live in, a better lifestyle, or whatever the case is, you can afford to make better choices. So why aren't you? It doesn't matter where you live. You can afford to make better choices for your family and your children. So why aren't you doing that? Why aren't the youth making better choices for their life rather than continually doing the same thing? Why are they continually going on this path of destruction? And yet we're all acting like we can't see what's going on. You see? Ghetto culture is the main problem in what you call the Black community. Because, to be honest with you, we don't have any culture in America. What we call culture in America is crazy. If you call culture you playing hip hop music, then you're insane. Because hip hop does not go all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Do you understand me? Real culture, real heritage goes way back. We lost that during the transatlantic slave trade. Do you understand? Our culture been beaten out of us by the other nations. We were sold to the French, the Dutch, the Spaniards, even Africans had us as slaves. And our people lost their language, our customs. We lost the things that we were traditionally doing. Our family life has been destroyed. Marriages have been destroyed. We never practiced what is known as monogamy. We practiced polygyny, where a man had more than one wife. That is how we were able to build a community. That is how a man was able to extend his lineage. Because if you only have one woman and you're unable to bear sons and daughters, or whatever the case is, then when you pass, your generation ends. So it was understood that a man is supposed to have more than one wife. But in this sick society we live in, you ladies think that you're supposed to be with this one guy and he's not supposed to be with no other woman, not understanding that you're growing old. And as you grow old, guess what happens? That man is in need of a woman to produce life. And unfortunately for us in this culture, our women and us as men are divided. We're divided because we make the choice. We love to say that racism has turned the Black man against the Black woman. We can say that all day. But at the end of the day, we still have a choice. We still have a choice to come together. But we're unable to come together because of too much pride, arrogance, materials. We think that we're better than one another. So we're not looking at the end goal of building a real community. What we're doing is we're dependent on the other nations to fix all of our problems. And that's never going to happen. Why would the other nations love us so much that they're willing to fix our problems? Racism is a race to see who control all the resources. So if racism exists, and it does, it is, why would the other nations be there to help solve our problems? Make it make sense, y'all. Racism is a race of different groups of people to see who can control the resources, who can control the housing market, who can control the food supply, who can control the job market, who can control gold and silver, who is controlling the resources. Because whoever has that control has the power, which means everybody got to go to them in order to make it. In the black community, in the ghetto culture, we see this every single day. Our people depend on welfare, food stamps, WIC, you name it. Everything that they get is given to them as a handout by the other nations. And guess what? It keeps people in poverty. That's right. Welfare is never designed to help you become a millionaire. Welfare has been designed to keep you in poverty. Welfare has been designed to make our women believe they don't need a man. All they got to do is go to the government, get a check, they're good to go. And this is why we have so many teen pregnancies, single mothers, because they know they can fall back on the government to take care of them. Whereas a black man is unable to get those resources. It is more difficult for a black man to obtain those resources. A black woman is more likely to get public assistance, food stamps, housing, and so forth, as long as she don't have a man. If you go to any black community in America and you look at the state of family, you will find more black women living in a house where their name is on the lease, not the man. The man that they're with, his name is not on the lease, but he lives at the house. And the reason why she don't put his name on the lease is because if she do, she's not going to get the benefits. Because according to the powers that be, they want you ladies to be single. They don't want a man in the house. But you don't put him on the lease because you want the resources. And because your man is lazy and he refused to work, he goes along with the program. So you have black men working with the black woman in order to receive government benefits so that their rent can be low, so that they could get food stamps, so they could get public assistance with cards and all sorts of crazy stuff in order to continue in their poverty. And in the process, nobody's making any money. Nobody's getting out of the hood, but we celebrate the hood culture. And yet our children are being raised in the same environment that we've been locked in for many, many years, and it's a revolving door of dysfunction. So what is the problem? Is it racism or is it ghetto culture? Which one is the problem? I cannot stand the ghetto. I cannot stand ghetto culture. I cannot stand it. It's toxic. I don't know how could anybody take this stuff serious, because it makes no sense. How could we embrace a lifestyle of crime and violence and call that something good? How could we talk about, oh, you know what I'm saying, I'm smoking and drinking and I'm chilling, and that's supposed to be good, whereas men in the other nations are building skyscrapers and building tunnels and doing all sorts of things and controlling all the resources, while we as black men are just sitting down smoking weed and drinking and playing PlayStation. Yet we expect our women to respect us when we don't even work. You go into the black community and you look at the majority of black men, none of them working. They don't even want to get a job. Most of them have no resume, never worked a day in their life, but they got a black woman who is taking care of them. They got a black woman in whom they're living with. And yet you ladies complain about these men, yet you're housing them in your place, right? And these men are not doing nothing. So what's the problem? Is racism doing that, or is black culture doing that? Hood, ghetto culture. Isn't that what the problem is? But you're going to get mad at me. You're going to say I'm defending the white man. At what point have I ever defended the white man or any sort of racist? I don't really care about those folks. A racist is going to be a racist, but nobody could tell me that I cannot make good decisions for my life and my family. I made a decision to get out of what you know as ghetto culture. I made the choice to put together the plan, to make the necessary moves, to put things in place in order to make the move. So if I can do that, you can do that. Right or wrong? Oh, you think you better than this? You think you better than that? Yes, I am. Get mad. Yes, I am. If I have elevated myself from a bad situation to a better situation, and you're in that bad situation still and refuse to move, I'm doing better than you. Don't get mad at me. See, that's the problem with our people. We'll see somebody that's doing better than yourself, and you'll criticize them and try to shame them for doing better, as if though we're not supposed to. If you think living in the ghetto, in the hood, with pissy elevators, rats and roaches, and you think that this is some sort of successful lifestyle, something's wrong with you. That is nothing to be proud of. Do you understand me? That is nothing to be proud of. You would be ashamed to invite guests over your house. You would be ashamed if somebody knocked your door and they had to come in. What's the first thing we normally love to say? Excuse the place. You know what I'm saying? I'm still cleaning or whatever. No. It's not about excuse the place. The place always been dirty. You're just embarrassed. So own it. Stop trying to shame people who took the initiative to better their lives. And now that they reached and elevated to a certain point, you want to try to make them feel guilty for elevating, as if though they're supposed to stay in the same dilemma they always been, just like you. I already know what the ghetto is like. I already know what the hood life is. I already know what ghetto culture is. That's why I'm able to speak on it. Because I done been there and done that. So I know better. So don't get mad at me. I'm trying to give you the truth so you can understand and stop blaming racism for your own personal decisions that you make every single day. You make decisions to stay in poverty every single day. Racism cannot make the choice for you. As a man, you make that choice. As a woman, you make that choice. If you're a woman and you open your legs for a man that ain't about nothing, you signed up for poverty. If you're a woman and you open your legs for a man that don't have a job, no ambition, he ain't going nowhere, he ain't working on a damn thing, you open yourself up to poverty. So when you bring forth them kids, don't think that because you had them kids that man is going to begin to elevate and start to produce, because he's not. Do you understand? The tree is known by his fruit. If he ain't doing nothing right now, he ain't going to do nothing when you have that baby. And that's just a fact. Is racism real? Yes. Is there elements of racism in the world, on the job, in certain communities, in certain neighborhoods? Yes, it is. But at the same time, that is not an excuse for you to not put in the work to get yourself out of certain situations. We have kids to raise. Our kids are being raised in these ghettos, and these ghetto environments are destroying the youth. The music is destroying the youth. The food is destroying the youth because we don't know what to cook anymore. There's so many problems I can address and talk about, but yet when we address these issues, you keep getting your emotions and your feelings getting mad as if though I'm not supposed to do this. As if though I'm not supposed to preach. My job is to teach and teach our people what is necessary for them to elevate themselves. You understand? And this is just the way it is in life. You have to make this choice to better yourself as a man or woman, and it's going to take you acknowledging where you are. Of course, a lot of our people are in the hood because we came out of the transatlantic slave trade, and all we know how to do is depend on massa. That's one of the most dysfunctional things of our people. We came out of captivity, out of slavery, only to go back into a new captivity where we're locked in a prison in our mind, where we feel that the other nations have to take care of us. That's literally how it is in the hood. Ghetto culture will teach our youth to pass down poverty. Oh, Big Mama, oh, she had that apartment in the projects. Okay, she died. Okay, Mama now gonna take over the apartment. Okay, Mama and the 5 kids are in that 2-bedroom apartment, right? Okay, cool. Mama died now, so now the kids take over the very same apartment, or they get another project apartment in the same complex. And we continue the same cycle year after year. That's dysfunction. Nobody has yet taught us, hey, why are we even living here? There's more out there in life than staying here. So when are we going to elevate and do something about it? Rather than complaining all day about, oh, the man is holding us back, and you know what I'm saying, they just trying to hold a brother down, don't want to give a brother a job. And no, you're making excuses. You're making excuses. You ladies are making excuses. You keep choosing the bums. You keep choosing a bum to make a baby with. Imagine that. As a woman, you'll open your legs, giving a man your womb who ain't nothing. A man who don't got nothing going on for himself. You would open your body for that kind of loser. And then complain that he's not taking care of the kids? Are you insane? Are you out of your mind? You open your legs for a man that ain't about nothing, and then you complain that he's not taking care of the kids? Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. That's like hiring somebody with a horrible work ethic, and you're complaining that he's not doing the job properly, when it was very clear that he don't work. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back with more to the series. Is the problem racism, or is it ghetto culture? Is the black community producing quality people that are elevating? Is the black community really producing civilized people that are moving forward and growing economically? Is the black community giving us the tools, the resources, and the education to become great people in today's day? I don't want to hear about no isolated story of Jay-Z growing up in Marcy Projects and now he's a billionaire. I don't want to hear none of that. I want to hear about numbers. How many people from Marcy Projects are coming out of the projects and becoming homeowners? How many? What is the percentage of that? I don't want to hear no sob stories about a rapper that made it big and now he's successful and we're using that as some sort of example. No. How many people from the hood elevate from the hood at a certain amount of years and become homeowners, business owners, and so on and so forth? How many? Because we boast about going to college all we want. But if the people are still stuck in the hood and they're not going nowhere, something must be wrong with the hood culture. Something's holding them back. Something's holding them back from economically growing, and yet we're being entertained by trap music and drill music and Henny and weed. And our women are over-sexualized. Our men are over-sexualized. Babies are being born every single day into poverty. And none of us are focusing on a game plan to elevate ourselves out of this mess. You tell me, what's the problem? What's the problem? Problem is ghetto culture. Racism have its part. But racism cannot stop you from making good decisions. Always remember that. You can have as many racists around. They could plot and plan. They could put drugs in the community. You don't have to take the drugs. When you see black men selling drugs to their own people, that's them making a choice. That's not racism. That's them making a choice to destroy their own people for $1. That's it. You know, when you have black mothers out here not taking care of their babies, neglecting their children, they made a choice. Racism didn't do that. People make choices. So we as a so-called community, right, we got to make better choices. So it starts with you. Remember what Michael Jackson said? The man in the mirror? Okay, look in the mirror. It starts with you. Stop waiting for the next man to make the decisions and you make it first. Let's see how that play out. I'll catch you in part 3 because this is part 2. We'll catch you in part 3 of this series. Ringo TV Reactions. Peace, blessings, rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.